Hello and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at.
I want to thank all of those who have made this trip possible.
Congressman Danny Davis says he won't be running for re-election, adding to a growing list of open congressional races across Illinois.
At Fiesta del Sol, we protect our families and defend our rights.
Organizers are calling for federal immigration agents to stay away from this weekend's Fiesta del Sol event.
When you are intentionally disenfranchised, it's going to take billions of dollars to rebuild this community.
And as violent crime drops in Chicago, local anti-violence groups are sounding the alarm about funding cuts. And now to some of today's top stories. A new state law will make it easier for schools to spot students who may need mental health care.
But what we have heard from families and from young people is that an annual check on sadness, worry, fear, and other problems would help to identify young people who need to talk before they experience the crises that require more serious, even hospital-based interventions.
Today, Governor J.B. Pritzker signed legislation that will require school districts to offer free mental health screenings to students in 3rd through 12th grades, beginning with the 2027-28 school year. Under the law, the State Board of Education would also provide resources like access to screening tools. Chicago Public Schools is facing down a $734 million budget deficit. The state of the district's finances were the subject of a hearing today with state lawmakers, CPS, the teachers union, and others. They all had opinions about who's responsible for fixing them.
But no matter how committed we are, no matter how committed our school communities are, we can't do this work alone. We need the partnership of the General Assembly. This is not a single entity's problem to solve. This is our shared responsibility and one we must address.
I don't think that it's the job of Springfield to rescue the school districts that might have been irresponsible with one-time money they received. Poor fiscal management on the part of the local government is not necessarily the responsibility of Springfield, except that it has been in the past. So clearly there has to be a conversation. CPS has significant financial issues, we know that.
CPS has until the end of August to approve a balanced budget for fiscal year 2026. Though the temps have fallen, you may have noticed the hazy skies. The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency has issued an air pollution action day for today and tomorrow for the entire state. The National Weather Service says smoke from Canadian wildfires moved into the area today, causing unhealthy air quality. They recommend limiting prolonged outdoor activity, and you may want to consider closing your windows at night if you were thinking of letting the cooler temperatures in. Up next, another local member of Congress is stepping down. Matt Masterson has that story right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Congressman Danny Davis, who has represented the state's 7th district for nearly 3 decades, says he will not seek a 16th term. The veteran Democrat announced his decision this morning and has already thrown his support behind State Representative LaShawn Ford to fill his seat that represents downtown, portions of the South Side, and several western suburbs. Here's a little of what Davis had to say as he thanked his supporters.
Chicago, Illinois, has done some marvelous things. Yes. Marvelous things. Yeah. Yeah, the road has not always been the easiest. Yes. But I tell you, I've had so much fun doing this job. I would do it for nothing. I would pay to do it. Oh, yeah.
Davis's announcement adds to the list of open congressional races across Illinois. Our Matt Masterson joins us now with more. Matt, so as we just heard, Davis says he clearly loved his time representing the 7th District. What did he say about his decision to call time now?
Well, Brandis, Davis didn't come right out and say age, but that's clearly a big factor. The 83-year-old is going to wrap up his 15th term in office when he completes this in 2027 before he leaves office. He spent more than half of his life in politics in a career that dates back to the 1970s. He was a Chicago alderperson. He was a Cook County commissioner before joining Congress in 1996. So at that age, with that type of career, he's decided it's time to step away. He also faced several challengers during his last re-election campaign in 2024. Came out ahead in that, but he was likely to face even more during the next campaign as well.
So as we mentioned, Davis has endorsed State Representative LaShawn Ford to replace him. Does that automatically make Ford the front runner in what we expect to be a crowded race?
It's going to be a big help. Davis's word obviously goes very far, as evidenced by the fact that he was reelected 14 times in that district. Those constituents clearly value his word and his endorsement very strongly. So Ford has been in state legislature since 2007. He clearly can stand on his own credentials as well, but Davis throwing his support behind him cannot hurt. But he won't be alone in this field. It is a very crowded field. Chicago City Treasurer Melissa Conyers-Irvin, she threw her name into the ring today. She finished second behind Davis in the Democratic primary for this seat back in 2024. Businessman Jason Friedman, Forest Park Mayor Rory Hoskins, these are other candidates who have also joined the race, but now also that Davis has stepped aside, it's likely that even more candidates will come into this.
Okay, yeah, that race kicks off pretty quickly as soon as he makes the announcement. Already seeing the Ford campaign signs at the event that Davis just had. Okay, so as we know, he is among a number of veteran Illinois politicians, including Senator Dick Durbin and U.S. Representative Jan Schakowsky, who are also choosing to go ahead and bring the curtain down on their careers right now. Are we seeing a generational change in the Illinois delegation?
Right, it's pretty clear that it is. These are 3 Congress people who have all served since the 1990s. They're all in their 80s, and they're all stepping away at essentially the same time. It's clearly a very stark change to the face of Illinois politics in Congress. These Congress people have talked about bringing in new leadership. Davis talked about it today. He called LaShawn Ford, who he's supporting, young and energetic. Ford is 30 years younger than Davis. He's 53. So these are candidates who are running for these spots who are really going to change the face, take over the face of Illinois politics going forward. It is a stark change going forward.
All right, should be fun to watch the campaign and, of course, that election in 2026. Matt Masterson, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brandis.
And you can read Matt's full story on our website. It's all at WTTW.com/news. 4 days of food, music, carnival rides, and more are kicking off today at the Fiesta del Sol event in Pilsen. The annual Latino cultural celebration draws over 1 million people. But as the fun starts, the festival's organizers worry that federal immigration agents could target the area. Organizers say they want ICE to stay away and are preparing to protect community members. Joining us with more are Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez of the 25th Ward, which includes Pilsen, Leo Ortega, the festival's co-chair, and Jennifer Aguilar, executive director of the Little Village Chamber of Commerce. Thanks to all 3 of you for joining us. Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez, let's start with you, please. What are some of the fears, some of the concerns going into this event?
Well, as we saw in Humboldt Park when federal agents arrived at the Puerto Rican Cultural Arts Center, the fear, the terror that when people don't feel safe going to public spaces for the fear of being snatched by federal agents is a fear that is across the country. And, I think that it is good to see how the ACLU and other civil rights organizations have already filed lawsuits. I expect many of them are going to be successful because it's unconstitutional to violate the law and just kidnap people without a due process, without a warrant. And that's, I think, what we are here in the city of Chicago protecting is the right of people to have a festival that's been in our community for over 50 years. We're proud to celebrate the largest Midwest festival in the whole Midwest, Latino festival. And we will make sure that we protect our constituents, we defend our families. And we will make sure that there's always due process. There's no collaboration within CPD and federal agents. So we're inviting people to come. The fear is real, but also we are prepared to make sure that people can safely enjoy this beautiful festival.
So Leo Ortega, what makes this year's preparations different from previous years?
Well, the one thing that we're really trying to focus on is obviously, like the Alderman was saying, is public safety. I mean, we are trying to avoid at all costs to have any type of miscommunication, any fear, any panic happening amongst the goers. And so we've created protocols in-house with the mayor's office, with local leaders, other organizers, just to be able to have the best practice in-house. So we do have attorneys on hand just in case if anything does happen, and we have communicated and have protocols with the Chicago Police Department that are actually here at the event, just to make sure that we prevent any type of chaos or any type of panic within the crowds.
Jennifer, the Little Village Chamber of Commerce has been supporting the preparations, of course. How should community organizations respond when there are fears about ICE targeting large events like this one?
I think it's important to work together as a community. Community organizations are the heartbeat of our communities, and working together, sharing ideas, supporting each other, and really making sure that we're spreading the Know Your Rights information that we have been working on sharing since the beginning of the year is very important.
Alderman, how have you been working with the festival's organizers to address the concerns from the community?
Yeah, just like Jennifer said, bringing our communities together to protect our families, defend our rights as the team of the festival with Pilsen Neighbors Community Council, elected officials, many organizations and neighbors. We kicked off not only the reception, but a presser, informing residents, making sure that people know that we are here in a city, that we are proud to be a welcoming sanctuary city, making sure that we, as Leo mentioned, we have organizations sharing information about our rights, but making sure that we have protocols with legal support, bringing our communities together, and making sure that people understand and know that these festivals should not be a reason of terror or panic, but quite the contrary, a reason to celebrate, come and invite them to come and celebrate. So we've been working very closely with organizations like ICE, CARE, many other legal organizations, organizers that will be on the ground with the mayor, Mayor Johnson, the deputy mayor, Beatriz Ponce de Leon, ensuring the CPD is there to protect the safety, but in no way to collaborate with ICE or any federal agency, and making sure that, again, that we invite people that know that we are confident that we will have a beautiful celebration this weekend because we have worked together with our local businesses, with our community, to guarantee the safety of all our constituents and visitors.
Leo, are there concerns that attendance might be lower this year because of ICE activity fears?
We honestly feel that, safety comes in numbers. So we're really trying to advocate for more people to join because we also have in-house security. We have private security as well, too. So we're trying to make sure the public feels safe in our environment, and we will try to do our best to create that type of environment.
Jennifer, you've been going to this festival since you were a kid. What does this festival mean to the people who attend it, to the businesses that surround it?
Yes, this festival is iconic in our community. I remember going with my family since I was 2 or 3 years old, and for the community, it's something that they look forward to every year. It's a place where you can celebrate your culture, enjoy music, eat delicious food, and it's just a place to be in community and really celebrate our culture.
Do you feel like that's something important in a time like this when so many people might be fearful of celebrating and sharing their culture and where they come from?
Definitely, it's very important to, more than ever, to celebrate our culture and to be proud and to have these spaces to feel comfortable and to be ourselves. It's an act of resistance to hold our heads up high right now, and that's exactly what we want to do with these celebrations.
Leo, the Cinco de Mayo parade was canceled earlier this year because of deportation fears. Why is it important to keep the festival going despite those concerns?
Pilsen Neighbors Community Council, along with Fiesta del Sol, we use this day this festival to highlight some of the resources within our local community, and we're able to amplify that message to the rest of the residents to be able to get more information on housing, immigration, employment. So we want the community to come out so they can have access to all the resources that we have to offer.
Jennifer, what do communities lose when events like this are canceled, or if attendance should be lower?
These events usually bring a lot of economic flow and activity and prosperity to our communities. A lot of vendors rely on these type of events. They're the biggest events for their business throughout the year, and losing these events diminishes the economic prosperity that our communities have, and small businesses especially lose the ability to do business in the community, but also culturally, losing these big events keep our community from being able to partake in fun activities and to get to enjoy everything that our neighborhoods offer.
Alderman, obviously ICE operations continue to remain a concern because especially after federal DHS agents, they showed up to the National Museum of Puerto Rican Arts and Culture just days before the Barrio Fest earlier this month. What advice are you giving to people who are still worried and may choose to not attend?
Well, just to know that here in community in these festivals, we can assure the people that they are safe in these beautiful festival that is iconic. I think that we also, of course, encourage people to be informed about the rights. It's important that people are well informed. We also have worked very diligently, as Leo and Jennifer have mentioned, to make sure that we foster not only a safe environment, but environment where people can be informed and help us spread the word. So for those who continue to be afraid, know that here in the city of Chicago, we're doing everything we can to protect our city. We're being successful on recent lawsuits challenging the withdrawal of federal funds because we're a sanctuary city. As I mentioned, there are lawsuits already challenging unconstitutional actions by just snatching people without warrants. And I feel very confident we're going to continue to win in courts. In the meantime, I think it's important that we know each other, that we have our back, that we as a community, we know that people will be safe. And that we
Alderman,
encourage people
I apologize.
to
I've got to interrupt. We are fresh out of time. I wish you all the best at the event this week. Best of luck. My thanks to
you so much.
Alderman Byron Sigcho Lopez, Jennifer Aguilar, and Leo Ortega. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, looking at the effects of defunding anti-violence programs. Advocates say with violent crime and homicides down in Chicago, their work is more important than ever. However, recent federal funding cuts have created a domino effect on state and local budgets. Violence prevention groups say they're seeing a decrease in funding that's already starting to have an impact on what they're able to do. Here with more on this are Jashawn Hill, Executive Director of Chicago Survivors, and Reverend Robin Hood, founder of MOVE, which stands for Mothers Opposed to Violence Everywhere. Thanks to you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So, Jashawn, I want to start with you. Tell me a little bit about the work that your organization does.
Well, Chicago Survivors is a free service to families who've been directly impacted by a homicide in the city of Chicago. And we offer wraparound services for those families who are seeking to live beyond the violent and traumatic loss of a loved one in the city of Chicago.
Reverend Hood.
So Mother Opposed to Violence Everywhere work on anti-violence initiative. One of our main focus is keeping youth employed, education, housing, and we've learned that if we don't focus on that, you can't stabilize community. If you don't have a house, a good school, and you're not safe in your communities.
Deshawn, you currently operate out of 16 schools across the city. Why is it important to be in the schools?
Well, that's where children return after that exposure to a homicide, a traumatic event that no one would ever fathom to experience. And we expect our children to be present, to learn, to retain information. And we know that traumatic death and exposure impairs how the brain functions and how they can be present. But we want to intervene, and the best way to do it is to be in the school setting so that they can be in a healthy and a safe environment to learn and to have choices beyond their community violence.
Reverend Hood, today you, some other anti-violence groups in North Lawndale, and you met with some city, some state officials addressing specifically the shooting that took place in West Garfield Park last Sunday, which injured 4 teens. What do you want to come of that meeting?
So, in actuality, I live 4 doors down from where that shooting happened. And for the last 5 years, we have had youth jobs. We hadn't had a shooting in 5 years. And this is the first
5 years on that particular block. Okay.
Which was a block that the police, I used to call it the disco block, because the police had their lights flashing around, all night long, 7 days a week, all during the winter and the summer. To go from that to no violence in 5 years, and then the jobs are not summer jobs no more, they call it youth employment now. I don't know why it should be summer jobs. You need to be in school, not focusing on jobs. But we recognize that those jobs that paid little money had made such a huge impact into the community that it's much needed. So when that happened, it sent alarms out. There are hundreds of millions of dollars all around the community, but we couldn't see where the service was. So we had that meeting today with the other groups that are working. That's part of it, to find a disconnect. And to me, it felt just like if you have electricity, static, there wasn't a total circuit. So we did get some dialogue going on, and your people were there, so they can tell you it was very testy. But guess what? We have got to deal with the elephant in the room and speak truth to power. These resources are not getting into the communities like they should.
So you're obviously, since jobs is one of your foci, it sounds like you feel like the jobs aren't really getting to the young people the way they need to be.
No, and then if you apply for it, or one of the reasons why our people felt like we're not going to sign the papers for that money, because here's what's going to happen. They're going to say the money will be there in August.
So you don't
say the
sounds
money
like a lack
will be
of
there in September.
Lack of trust.
They're going to say the money will be there in October.
The government, right? So
and the money's there.
So Deshawn, your organization, you were expected to receive $2 million in state funding for next year. That's been cut in half. How has that impacted you already?
Well, we've had to already lay off 7 of our staff members. And so in homicide work, we're 24/7. And the week that this had to happen, June 30th, if you note the numbers of homicides that took place over July 4th weekend, there were over 20 touches with half the staff to respond 24/7
when
to
you say
homicide.
A touch, 20 calls for a violence interventionist to
homicide alone.
Homicide.
Not even, we're not just talking about shooting victims who survived, which are other organizations, who had to respond to those victim systems. But our families, those victims represent just 20, but connected to them is an average of 4.5 people. So we're talking about 90 individuals who were directly impacted, and our staffing has been cut because of, yes, the reduction, but like any good medicine, it needs to get in the system, it needs to sustain and continue on that path, not remove the resources while we see positive outcomes.
And to be clear, this is state funding as a result of state sort of tightening up. This is not federal funding that has been lost, right? Because we all know, there violence prevention, it's a collaborative effort. What else do you think needs to be done? What else do you think government officials could do and other agencies to help fund the work that you do with budget cuts that are happening like this?
Absolutely. Just being able to communicate and be flexible about how we delegate those funds in communities, especially when we know it's proven that it's working, it's reducing PTSD in those family systems. And our organization, we've been able to be here for over 10 years now. This is our 10th year since serving communities. We have youth clinical services, as you stated, in the schools, in the families, community of survivors, which number over 10,000. We're going to have a whole reunion weekend where you can see that touch, but why remove at that time? Why not resolve and find ways to ensure we sustain and continue to reduce those impacts? Because we're a wraparound service. We're not just your intervention, and they have their place, right, with interrupters, but we stay with.
Reverend Hood, we've got 10 seconds, 15 seconds. What do you think the government needs to do? What would you like to see?
Well, the government needs to be truthful, and I'm talking about the state, with the legislators. The legislators do their job to get the resources, and then they got to hear from us, because we're not receiving them resources in a great time.
Back to Springfield is what it sounds like you're pointing towards the need for help from there. That's where we'll have to leave it. Jashawn Hill and Reverend Robin Hood, thanks to you both for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's our show for this Thursday night. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 7 for the Week in Review. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that contributes to public safety policy and guidelines.